Okay, here we are. Ducks Don't Get Cold Feet, number 39, and we are here with Christina Vithoulkas.
Yep, you got it right. Yeah.
Yes! I've been practicing so long for that, and I must admit, doing all the research about you, I'm super excited to be speaking to you. I've seen you at a few things, so I've sort of seen you, lurking around in the backgrounds. I noticed you had a few motorsport events, and then I said, who is that girl? And then that then started, and I must admit my wife was on to say, hey, you need to get this person on the podcast. She is inspirational. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So happy to have you here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. I know when Natalie messaged me, I was just like, would you be interested? I was so excited because I've obviously seen you at the Adelaide 500 and then at Courtney and Aaron's wedding, and I had to leave early that night. So I was looking forward to this because I feel like we'd be able to connect well.
Well, we've had a long look at pretty much anything you've put out there. Haven't read every article on the planet, but come close. I know V's done a lot of research, and I think when I look at inspiration, I think of things in my life and things I look up to. I look at what you've done, and I'm like, fucking hell, it's amazing. And you go into a lot more detail, and you did a Q&A, which was quite, it was emotional, but it was quite from the heart. And that really connected with me because I feel I talk like that. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad, but it is how it is. And then when I watched your Q&A, I was like, wow, that's straight from the heart. And most people don't know, but I guess you can tell me you're in a wheelchair now. You're a paraplegic from the chest down.
Yep.
So my knowledge is very high. I could go through which vertebrae that is, but I'm sure you're going to tell me, welcome. But, how did you get to be in a wheelchair, which is, let's face it, only, not very long ago?
Yeah, so it was about 4 years ago. I actually can't remember how old I was, but it was in 2018.
Well, I think you're about 22.
No, now I'm 28.
Yeah, 4 years ago. All right.
Oh, 22.
Yeah.
I thought you were giving me a compliment. I'm like, no. Okay, so I was about 22. I was living in Victoria at the time, but I went back home to the Riverland where I'm from. So I'm from Barmera in the Riverland. We've got Lake Bonny there, if you've heard of that. Probably not. It's very small town.
Yeah, Lake Bonny. Lots of wakeboarding on Lake Bonny.
Yeah. So I went back home to visit family, and I decided, I was like, I'll take the bikes, go for a ride while I'm there. And I was visiting a friend's track. They actually had their grand opening. So way to spoil their grand opening, I crashed my first jump of the day. It was about 9, 10 a.m. I was hitting a jump that I've never jumped before. I've jumped other ones there, but not this one. And I was feeling off. I didn't feel like I was confident to hit this jump, but I have this 3 speed check rule where I'm like, if I do 3 speed checks, which means right along next to the ramp and test your speed, you have to hit it. And me being stubborn Greek that I am, I hit it, and knowing that I wasn't going to make the distance, but I can't remember the crash. And as the people that were there, like my sister and my friends that witnessed it, as they describe it, I came short, the bike kind of bounced, and my legs were thrown up in the air. So as me and the bike have both bounced again, I've landed on the side of my bike on my head and having my bum scorpion over and hit my back of my head, and they reckon they all heard the snap. And then only recently, actually just the other week, I was going through my photos and I seen a video I'd never seen before, and it shows how far I landed. I've landed about 10 meters plus away from where I actually crashed. So I must have rolled or ragdolled as well. And basically left a T5 paraplegic complete, which means no chances of walking again or getting feeling or anything back.
Oh, thanks for that. Oh my God. Was it true that just previous to that, you actually had another motorbike accident, but obviously not as severe, but a motorbike accident that put you out of action as well? Yeah,
so a year before that, I had a spinal injury, T6, I believe it was. I compressed my vertebrae, and that they told me back then, that was a pretty big scare, and they said, you were so close to being paralysed. So I kind of got a little bit thrown off because of the recovery and the pain that I was in. I was like, you know what, maybe I just need to calm down, get off the bike. I was living in Victoria at the time, but I don't know if I was depressed, but I was crying every day, and I was probably at the lowest point I've ever been in my life. So I got back. I was like, you know what? I'm not happy. I'm upset. Like, I need to do something that makes me feel happy again. So I got back on the bike.
So what sort of time frame is this?
So
like,
when
is this like you realise it straight away, or is it weeks, months, or you're talking a year?
A year. It was 8 to 12 months, and I was like, all right, I'm getting back on the bike. And as soon as I got back on the bike and doing something I love, I could distract myself away from the negatives that I was going through at the time. So I got back on the bike a year later, and I was only jumping for 3 months before I had my permanent spinal injury.
Wow. I got a motorbike license. Fuck, I know they should not give me a motorbike license, but back in my day, all you had to do is just apply for the license and you got it. So I still got it. And I've gone over some jumps and it's not good. Like, I hit a small jump and I feel like it bucks me over.
Yep.
I'm scared shitless going to do motocross jumps.
I feel like I was the same though. Like, I only started riding when I was 19. And
Why? Was it a guy?
Yep.
Like, okay. What would make you all of the motocross riders are pretty crazy.
So growing up, like, you know how you said Lake Bonnies, wakeboard, I grew up in the Riverland and didn't wakeboard, didn't kneeboard, didn't play netball, didn't play any sports growing up. It never interested me. But I always envied those that were passionate about something, like looking at people and they were really passionate about a certain sport. And I'm like, I just want to find something that I love, because I know once I have it, I will be able to give that 110%. So I dated someone back in the Riverland and he had a bike, got on the back of it, and instantly I was just like, nah, I want to ride this myself. So 2 weeks later, I bought a CR85 two-stroke.
Yeah.
Got into riding, and then it took me a year before I would even contemplate jumping. I was like, nah, stuff that's too scary. I remember a year later, it was about a year and a half later, I jumped my first tabletop, and I was just like, oh my God, like, that was huge. Like, and I ran to my boyfriend, I was like, can I see the footage? Like, I'm going to make it my profile picture, which I did. And it's literally like 30 centimeters in the air. And I was like, what? I was like, I swear I was so much higher. And then within 3 months, I was hitting a 50-foot gap on a ramp.
Wow. So impressive. I've gone out with mates. I got a mate called Tintin who's a Red Bull. He works for Red Bull, fanatical Red Bull guy. In fact, I think his blood has got Red Bull in it. And he had to look after all the motorbike riders, so Robbie Madison.
Yeah, that's who got me connected with Red Bull, Robbie Madison.
Oh, well, no shit. So what a small world. And Tintin's like, he's into his motorbikes. And you watch these guys ride, and he's no Robbie Madison, just for the record. Tintin, if you're ever listening, you ain't Robbie Madison. You work for Red Bull, not sponsored by Red Bull. And I've been out with him, and I can like accelerate, pop mono, feel pretty comfortable doing that. But when it comes to the jumps, it's crazy. So I got to ask, how did you first learn? Did someone ride next to you say, okay, you got to hit it at that speed to make that distance? It looks pretty full on.
That's crazy. I haven't even thought of going back to that memory until you just said that. And you're hitting a ramp, and basically I was riding next to the person hitting the ramp that I wanted to hit.
Yeah.
So I'd follow
their
speed and follow their speed. But because I wasn't going to make the distance, they were just landing on the top of the deck. And I just did it. I remember I was with, there was probably at least 8 to 10 guys. I was the only girl there besides like a girlfriend of one of the riders. And I had all these guys talking to me like as if it was expected of me to hit it. And I remember like feeling like shit, like all these guys are hitting it. Like I have to do it. Like they expect me to do it. And then once I hit it, that day I just kept going and going. I think I hit it probably 50 to 100 times until I cleared the jump and got the 50 foot. And as soon as I did that, then the boys were like, that's crazy. We never hit 50 foot on our first day. And I'm like, why did you make it seem like it was so like it was just I was like, oh, so I did just do something crazy.
Oh, it's so good. And it just sort of goes to show that you put your mind to anything, you can do it. Mm-hmm. And I say that to my girls. I got some young girls. It's similar to wakeboarding, crossing the wake. the first time you actually land on the other side, it's so smooth. And it's like, yeah, you do all these jumps, and then once you land on the downside, it's like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah, it wasn't as hard as you predict it to be, or like your anxiety always gets the better of you. You kind of realise how much you can psych yourself out. That's why I developed that 3 speed check rule, because I knew how important it was to get out of that headspace of like being paranoid of things going wrong.
Yeah, it's like having an accident, like in a car or something.
Yeah.
In a race car, if you actually hit someone, or I've stalled on the start grid, and that's a frightening experience. And every takeoff after that was full burnout leaving, because I was thinking there's no way I'm stalling. And it's hard to get a mental block out of your mind. You talk about your 3 speed check. That's an amazing thing to actually put into place, considering no one taught you that.
Yeah, it was also the main thing I remember, just repeat. Like I'm a big believer in manifesting and affirmations and stuff like that. And I remember all I would ever say riding was, the boys have 2 arms and 2 legs. I've got 2 arms, 2 legs. There's literally nothing different between us besides the attitude we have in our heads. Boys are just more willing to like go the extra mile and
maybe risk it.
Yeah, risk it. But now I don't have the 2 legs. But I still have the same mindset.
You've got something that you could say is probably more powerful, and that is the mindset.
Yeah.
And having to, change the way that you've adapted to life. In one of your Q&A questions, you talk about how your parents are like, oh no, like they're all gloom, and you're like, no, this is what's meant to be.
Yeah.
And I listened to that. I went back, I re-listened to it. I think, fuck, that's such a ballsy thing to be able to say. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but that you go in with that attitude of like, no, this is the cards I'm dealt. I'm going to play the hand. And I don't know, how did you get to that? I mean, it can't have been that easy. You made it sound like, no, this is it. And speaking to you, yeah, I know, it's crazy.
No one believes it, but it was because I feel like the way I look at life, like I feel like people go through life without questioning things, without asking, why do these people do this? Why does that happen? Why do I feel a certain way? I feel like what's it called? Your eternal dialogue? Is that what it is when you talk?
Your mental.
Yeah, mental. I would always talk to myself and question everything. And I remember before my accident, things like being able to understand, a red light and a green light at a traffic light. If you were to go anywhere international, for example, let's say you're going out of space to an alien's world, and they have a set of traffic lights. As soon as you see green, you're going to straight away assume that means go.
Yep.
Because the world has, I'm trying to think of the word, conditioned us.
Yeah.
Condition us. And I believe that everything in our life has been conditioned. So I remember sitting in the hospital when I paralyzed myself and being able to look at it from like a third person and like kind of like a bird's eye view of the whole situation. I was just like, people are looking at my disability, me in bed, thinking that that's a bad thing. Just like a red light, green light, I'm like, I'm just going to flip it. Like, it only looks like a bad thing because everyone else just pictures people with wheelchairs, like their life has, tragically gone downhill, or, they'll get depressed or whatever it is from any stereotype. So I was just like, it's all right, we can just flip it. And I knew that when I was in hospital. So I was like, it's going to be fine. Like, and it is.
It's it's inspirational, and it's amazing. It's just like that, because I talk about mindset, you're the one that chooses how you react to situations. You're the one that chooses how you wake up in the morning. You're the one that chooses how if someone leaves a comment about you, you're the one that chooses how to react to that. No one else. And you control that.
Yep.
And you're actually doing it on what I would say is probably an extreme level of like, no, these are the cards I'm dealt.
I think it was a little bit different for me in the sense, because I still have those moments where it's like, your mind's controlling everything and you've got control of it if you want. With the injury, because of my previous back injury, knowing the chances of it happening, I was kind of already prepared.
It could be bad.
It could end like this. And I feel like a lot of people risk getting injuries or doing sports, and they get down themselves like as if they never expected it to happen. Or people, there's every day people can get diagnosed with cancer or die tomorrow, but people live like as if they're going to live to their retirement age. That's why I'm always like on the go and living my life every single day. I'm like, yeah, I might be in a wheelchair, but like that person might get diagnosed with cancer tomorrow and die before me. So it's just like not having that guarantee. So
So clearly you had something in you from a young age. Where were you born? Like, I know you're in Barmera, but were you born in Barmera?
So because I'm a twin, so I've got a twin sister, Irene. Because we were twins in the country, they couldn't deliver twins, so we had to come to Adelaide. So Royal Adelaide Hospital, wherever that was, the Women's Children's Hospital back in Glenelg, I think it was.
Maybe, I don't know. It's
gone now.
It's city, but
we had to be born in Adelaide, and then we were sent back home. But definitely as well, another thing I don't think people understand, like, unless you've met my dad, you will not understand how repetitive and how much he can talk. Like, and I feel like growing up, like, when I was asked to come on this podcast, they're like, oh, you're going to be talking for 2 hours. I'm like, you can set me up with a mic for 12 hours. So I'll be fine. Like, it's like a marathon. But with my dad, he would always talk and, like, repeat the same advice and tips and, I guess, like, affirmations, and always repeat to us, like, you're always lucky. If you can go to the supermarket, this is a phrase that I always use. If you could go to the supermarket, fill up your trolley and go home, you are the luckiest person. If you've got a roof over your head, you're the luckiest person. So it just always reminding us of how lucky we were. It was like kind of like embedded into my brain to always look at everything glass half full. So when people had boats,
yeah, you know what? It's amazing how that sinks in.
It does. If it's repeated to you, I remember, all I can think of, if I think of like car rides with my dad, it's like, Dad, we know. Yes, Dad, we've heard it. Like the amount of times me and Reed would say, Dad, I know you've told us this, but it obviously worked because it like rewired us.
My old man used to play positive thinking tapes back then. They were definitely cassette tapes, and it would be Dr. Wayne Dwyer and all these Ziggy Ziglar and all these guys are saying, you can think, if you think you can do it, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. And at the time, I was like, oh God, Dad, I'd be listening to this like up the river. It'd be like an hour, wasn't an hour, but maybe 45 minutes the whole time. And it was like, I think it sunk in. Because I actually listen to that now, and I now do the same thing to my girls, and it's amazing what you learn from other people, specifically your parents.
Definitely. I think it's the biggest thing, because I know people do say with my angel, like, oh, you're lucky though, like you have a good support system, which I 100% agree with, because I still feel like anyone can change whenever they want, if they want it hard enough.
Yeah.
But having Dad do that, like I'm 100% believing that Dad was the biggest impact on my.
How worried were you? Like, how worried were your parents? When you first saw them? Can you recall when you first saw them?
All I remember
after that accident.
Yeah, I remember they would always put a brave face on. You could tell they were worried, but I had no idea how bad things actually were, because I was just happy. I was loving it. The Royal Adelaide Hospital just opened up. Their lamb roasts were amazing. I was just like, this is good food. I had my own room, the TV. I was watching The Block or something. I had everyone bringing me chocolate. I was like, this is a holiday. I get to see all my friends I haven't seen for ages. So I'm like, Meanwhile, I didn't find this out till later. My sister was like, like they'll go out and cry, and then they'll like wipe their tears and come back in and like not show me how upset they were. And I was just like oblivious to it all. I was like, I'm fine, so they're fine, but they weren't really.
So your sister, twin sister, identical or a twin?
We are identical.
Do you look similar?
But not now. We don't look the same now. Like, but if you look at childhood photos, we're identical. Is
that because you're in a wheelchair? Or?
Yeah, that's what I say to them. I'm like, she looks like me, but just a little bit tall, not that tall actually. But now she did have red hair for the last 5 years. We got different face, I don't know, I guess just different noses. I don't know, we just look different now, different style. I put more makeup on, she puts less.
You stay in what, you put more makeup, she's less?
Yeah, okay. So if we want to look alike, we're like, okay, we have to do the same makeup to like even it out. But yeah, we stay in we're on the phone just before this, like we probably FaceTime 5 times a day. Just
really?
Just stupid, like really stupid stuff. Like she'll ring, be like, oh, I'm looking at getting into this, or it would just be like the most pointless phone calls just to like share our thoughts. It's crazy. It's good though. I love it.
Lives in Adelaide?
She built a house in Anglevale, and then she moved to Queensland. So she's in Queensland now. So like this is the first time we're like
apart.
Yeah, like we were separated for the last 4 months, I think we counted. And I swear, like, it affected me. Like, because when we got back together, it's like our friends know, like when Irene and I are together, like our energies just like go off each other and we just like vibrate to a whole new level.
It's something to be said about that. You come across as having high energy. Charismatic is probably another way to look at it. Have you always been like that?
Yeah, I believe so. My school reports were always like, Christina distracts other students. Christina does this. I feel like I was always loud or just like a social butterfly. Like growing up, I never had a clique that I stayed with. I did have a best friend in primary school and in high school, but I never stayed with the same people. I was always just wanting to talk to everyone and sit with different people and just...
interestingly enough, you wanted to be a school teacher?
Oh, yeah. I dropped out my third year.
Like, you didn't want to go through with that? Like, no. You've just recently seen footage of that school teacher that lost the plot in that school in Victoria. You don't see the whole lot, but this kid must have been throwing paper or something, and that the teachers literally grabbed the kid and pulled him over. And it's quite confronting, but I got to watch what I say. But that kid probably wasn't his first rodeo. I can't speak because I don't know. But the teacher just loses it. And I think to myself every time, it would be so tough being a school teacher.
So my mum's acting principal at the moment. She's been a deputy principal her whole life since we were younger. My auntie's a teacher. My other auntie's a teacher. Really? Her daughter's a teacher.
Really?
The other ones. So it was just one of those things where you grow up, you're like, what do you want to be? Which I think is ridiculous that when you leave high school, you're expected to know what you want to do. So you just like, okay, I'll be a teacher. Then Irene and I enrolled at Uni SA in McGill. And by the third year, that's when I found dirt bikes. I started riding, and like I was explaining to you before, I finally found something that like made me feel alive, and I was like, okay, like this is something that I love. So it actually made studying teaching a lot harder. Being able to recognize that this didn't make me feel a certain way. I didn't feel passionate. I didn't feel enthusiastic, and I was like, "It's good." It doesn't align with who I am. I remember they were telling us in university, like, once you get your degree, you're probably gonna have to delete Instagram, or you're gonna have to. And I was just like, I'm not a good girl, as in like in the sense of like portraying like the perfect teacher. Like I don't want to change who I am just because I have to be a role model for students. So
you're not going to be a police person soon?
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't think so.
So when you look at prior to before the accident, you were what jobs were you doing?
So while I was at high school, I was in hospitality. Then I moved to Adelaide. I was working at the Marlin Hotel.
Yep.
So I was doing gaming and the bar there. And then once I moved and then I was doing obviously uni, dropped out, moved to Victoria because an ex of mine wanted me to move there. And I was just like, I'm not going back to hospitality hours. Like, I just can't do it. Like, I need my weekends for riding. So I was like, stuff it. I would be willing to do anything. So I got my construction induction card, got my stop and go back card, like all the traffic control stuff.
What's that? Is that a lollipop person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I was a traffic.
They get paid good money just to work on.
Good money, like really good money. So I was doing that for 6 months. They needed someone to help out in the office. Long story short, kind of like made the supervisor at the time look really shit because of how good I was and how much work I was getting done. So then they promoted me to supervisor. And right before my injury, the last 8 months, I was supervisor for 74 staff members. So I was just like running them and just, doing a lot of office stuff.
So now what?
Yeah, now nothing. I love it. It's great. So I'm in retirement. I'm in my 4th year retirement. Nah, I do want to go back to work, but at the moment,
oh my God,
I say it like I'm like, this is my gap year. Like when I had my injury, I was like, this is my gap year. Like I need to learn my injury. My insurance covers my income, so because they give me my income, if I go back to work, they will take it that away. So unless my mindset is unless I'm going to get a job that's going to offer me
more
double, which I will do once I build my house in Queensland and build my drift car. Those are my priorities. At the moment, I'm like, I'm too busy. As in, like, I just want to travel and do everything that I want. I'm not getting exhausted by work. I'm not being restricted. I can do anything that I want. So eventually I would love to get back into the workforce. I do want to get back into construction. But at the moment, I'm just living.
So some people will listen to that and think, that's you're living off insurance money.
Yep.
And when I look at it, the things, you mentioned that in some of the things you've done that you could go into public speaking. You can definitely talk.
Yeah.
So I think that's a positive. Do you get people looking up to you that are in wheelchairs that have been through similar situations, obviously not the same as yours? Do they contact you or hit you up on Instagram and just say, look, you've done so much for me? So that must happen to you all the time.
Yeah, a lot. And that's what motivated me to continue sharing so much of my experiences through social media. I got so many messages like that. It was just like those messages are the ones when the people need it the most. So I would post stuff knowing 95% of the people viewing it would just skip my story or just not read it, but I was doing it for the 1%, because I know how important that 1% is, being someone that's in rehab, sitting in a hospital bed, not knowing what this injury involved, desperate to see someone like myself, like, what can I do? What are the possibilities? So I just wanted to show that. So the last 4 years, I got a bit carried away with my retirement. So it's now 4 years.
It's a 1 year gap.
Yeah, 1 year gap. It's now it's a 4 year. But my focus was just like it's like relearning how to not only live, but just do everything from like going and getting my nails done, going to appointments, to restaurants. Everything I do now is completely different to how you would. I
saw you get out the car today.
Yeah.
So you're cruising around in a big four-wheel drive, which I think's hilarious because you're tiny. And I've said, do you need a hand? You go, no, I'll show you how I actually get out of here. And I was like, damn, like you have special contraptions to drive.
Yep.
Which is Bluetooth, which fucking scared the hell out of me because I've never had any Bluetooth device that's fucking worth putting my life on. And it sits on your hand like some cyborg.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, how do you brake? And you go, yep, push that lever. And I go, okay, I get the brake works. And the brake actually cuts out Bluetooth, thank God for that. So if the Bluetooth does go, you can always stop.
That's it. That's why the brake is not Bluetooth. I've got that mechanical because of that reason. But the Bluetooth hasn't.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. But for me, seeing, you've got these contraptions which you need, and you came by yourself, you got out of the car, and I might be sounding dumb about this, but actually seeing that, it's like, fuck, that's a big process.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's not dumb at all.
like it's to see the process to get out. I mean, you got a crane in the back and I was like, fuck, that must cost a fortune to put all that.
Not that I had to pay for that,
yeah,
but
I get that.
that was like $75,000 worth of modifications.
Yeah.
My car is insured for $140,000. It's a Ford Ranger. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not a cheap car, but it's not a $140,000 car, so it's crazy, the insurance.
Yeah, and it was, that's a process. Like, you need the certain amount of room. You need, for anyone that's parked in a disabled spot where they fucking shouldn't be, holy shit.
Yeah.
We had one of our execs walk in and he's like, oh, you got a podcast? Yeah. He goes, oh, fuck, I'm parked in the disabled.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a half car park. No, you're the first person to probably use that spot.
Yep.
So it's sitting there going, wow, that's a whole process. And that's just to get out of the car, get in the car.
Things that I didn't consider. I thought wheelchair spaces were just so they were closer. I had no idea the space was bigger because we physically need the room. I've been trapped before and I've had to get strangers drive my car. I'm like, look, someone's come too close to me. I can't physically get in my car. I've had people get my car, get in, move the car for me. It's crazy the things you don't consider. Like you're saying coming here, like I've had girls message me like, oh, can we just go for breakfast tomorrow morning? I'm like, oh, I just taken I call them shit meds, poo meds. I've taken my meds like 16 hours before. I can't just spontaneously do a breakfast meetup because my bowels are going to be ready to go at a certain time. It's like all these little things that people don't consider. So
well, I hadn't considered till I started listening to what you were saying. It's like, okay, there's a whole lot of things that are involved.
Yep.
Just going to the toilet.
Yep.
You mentioned a catheter.
Catheter. Yep. Catheter and bowels is manual as well.
And do you have to wake up in the middle of the night, or you said 6 hours?
So I can, it depends how much I drink because I'm very bad with my fluids. So I can go 6 hours.
So do you like, with a fully functional human, sorry,
What?
with legs and whatnot, they say you got to have 2 to 4 litres of water every day. Do you drink that much?
Nah, but if I wasn't paralysed, I still wouldn't either. Like, I'm just that bad with water. I don't drink enough water, but I should. But so normally for the first couple of years, I couldn't tell at all when I needed to go to the toilet.
So what happens?
So it was all on timer. So I'll just time everything, have to they call it decision fatigue. I think diabetics have it as well because you're constantly thinking of things and calculating things. You forget, your memory's a lot more worse off. And then you're just tired because your brain just doesn't turn off. So I used to always put a timer. So every time I did a catheter, I'd put a timer and just to be safe, I did a catheter every 4 hours. Now, recently in the last 2 years, I get goosebumps under my left rib. It's like a weird sign. I could tell what it is now, and I know that's either I need a fart or I need to go to the toilet, and or I'm in pain. So if I'm in my legs, if you started stabbing my leg, the only thing I'd get is goosebumps under here. It's called dysreflexia when you get it really severely. I've only had that once when something was really going wrong and your blood pressure drops or rises, I can't remember. You start sweating, you get goosebumps. It's basically like you feel like you're dying, but it's your body's way of telling you something's got to change because something's going wrong with your body. It's crazy.
So I've heard you mention phantom
sensations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very, very powerful. I remember before my injury, the people would do those tests with the knife and they stab between your fingers and then they'll show a video of stabbing a hand and you could feel it. And it's the exact same as amputees when they chop their arm off, they could still feel their hand. So I right now can feel my legs because we're talking about it. I can feel them. If I see you stub your toe, my toe starts hurting, or it's just crazy how powerful the mind is. Yeah.
So do you if I stabbed your leg? Oh, that sounds so bad. If I stabbed you, would you feel it?
Nah, I'll just get the goosebumps here. I'd feel uncomfortable.
So have you seen blood from here?
Yep.
Oh, that's I'm really open to a period story here, haven't I? Fuck.
In the bathroom, I went to the toilet and I was like, why is there blood all over the ground? And then I looked down and my toe, I somehow cut my toe.
Right.
And there was blood.
Right.
So the phantom sensation, that's why people don't understand. I'm like, if I don't see it or think of it, doesn't even cross my mind. The moment I seen that, then all of a sudden my toe was hurting. And it's it kind of at the start of the injury, it kind of confuses you. You're like, maybe I can feel, and then I'd burn my leg or something. I'm like, okay, no, I can't feel.
So you have burnt yourself before?
Heaps.
On the legs?
Yes, heaps of times.
What is this? This is a dirt bike, bonfire, beers, yeah. No.
First one was a leaf blower, trying to spin myself around in the wheelchair. Burnt myself on my leg.
Hang on. Let's unpack that. You got a leaf blower trying to do donuts in a wheelchair?
Yeah, I was just I just got back from rehab. We had the leaf. I'm like, I wonder if I could spin around on the wheelchair. And then as I was doing it, I just created a massive blister on my thigh.
Yeah, it's so hard to comprehend that side of the fence.
Yeah, or little things that people think that's not hot enough to hurt you. For example, phone torch. You leave that on your leg for half an hour, you'll get a blister. You don't think, things that you don't think will burn you when you do not feel them. When you can't tell something's happening, you're just like, whatever. I went drifting and I was just like, oh, I'm getting that weird feeling in my ribs, but I thought I was in a RX-7. Oh no, not RX.
Don't say RX-8. RX-7, they're hot. RX-8,
well, it was a
not
rotary.
so hot.
I'm pretty sure it was RX-7 rotary.
RX-7 sounds right.
Crazy Dog, have you heard of him?
I haven't, but RX-7.
It's like a rotary? Yeah. So I thought this goosebumps. I was like, oh, I'm just it's just I don't know.
What was it?
I burnt my leg on the gearbox. My leg must have gone around a corner, was leaning on, and my whole ankle just. Actually, that wasn't Crazy Dog's car. Take that back. That was someone else's.
That back, Crazy Dog, if you're listening.
But yeah, it was 3 hours after the whole drift event, and we were out somewhere, and one of my friend's mothers was like, what happened to your leg? I'm like, what do you mean? Didn't even notice. I had this massive blister full of liquid. But
so where's the feeling start? Rib cage?
I got a tattoo.
Oh, you have to.
From here.
From here.
From here. So I got that.
It's just under your breast, right?
Yeah, so basically
and
just
she's
under
got like a... That's from here. All right.
Because everyone asks, like, and I always, like, from here. I'm like, I'm going to get a tattoo.
Is it all the way around?
Yeah,
like,
so I call it...
literally like a circumference.
Yeah, so I call it the ring of fire because where that line is, it's obviously not a feeling and dead straight to no feeling. There's a slow transition. Right. And through that transition is very, very heightened and sensitive. And actually, the only way I can describe it is if you were completely like sunburned and someone doing like a rub and pulling your skin on sunburn, like that's how that area feels.
All the time?
Not all the time. Just when like someone like touches it or rub or a towel. It's just depends. Or when they're getting tattooed, it's.
So is that like your G spot?
No, but the nipples. No. So like this is what I explained to everyone. Because of that, that's so sensitive. It's really close to my nipples. So I got my nipple. I think I've got a very high pain tolerance. And I was like, so. And I've got a lot of tattoos and stuff. And someone's like, oh, you should get a nipple piercing. And I was like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. Like I started recording it. I was like, this will be funny to record.
Yeah, you couldn't do it.
I did it, but I died. Like I think that was more painful than breaking my back. But that area, anything above this area is hypersensitive. So with paraplegia, quadriplegia, they'd say like people can have orgasms through like earlobes and stuff. Nipples definitely.
Okay. So yeah, okay. That, I mean, it opens up a whole lot of other doors. You're one of the few people that I've seen are quite happy to talk about things sexual, I'll say. Yep. Is there like, do you get feeling, or is it things working still down there? Nah,
so it's, I mean, it depends what you just define as working. Like you can't physically feel it.
So do you have ovaries still?
Yeah.
So you okay, all right.
This is why I talk about it.
Yeah, I've got no idea.
Because people have no idea, and I know that because I was that person in rehab asking the nurses. I'm the one that's paralysed, and people are asking me, I'm like, I can't even give you the answer. I don't know. So because I knew how uneducated I was on the topic, I was like, anything I learned from this, I'm sharing. And I'm going to also make it seem very comfortable to talk about, because it's not like everyone here doesn't have sex. Yeah. Like, everyone does. So,
well, Jack, he's a bit young.
Okay, you're a bit young. You're good. Wait till you're over age. But I love that. But normally, like, if you're not having it, you're thinking about it. Jack's thinking about it, trust me. So, with the sex, that's how I was like, anything I learned. So basically with the sex, I was like, all right, I need to research this. I need to find out tips from other paralysed people. And crazily enough, I think, unfortunately, I just had a very shit sex life before my injury, because my sex life has gotten so much better since the injury. Because you're brave enough to ask for what you want, and you get turned on in ways that you need. So everyone's different. I don't need to go into details, but like,
Yeah. Look, you can give as much detail as you need.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay, so like choking, pulling hair, licking the nipples. I need all that stuff. Like, I need kinky stuff. That will put me in the mood, and then anything that's going on, talk about phantom sensation. If I see you stub your toe and I'm in pain, turn that into horniness.
Okay.
You see a penis going into you. It's
got it.
All in the head. You're enjoying it just as much. It's crazy.
Fuck.
But imagine the guy on missionary and not doing anything. just missionary and just not doing anything. And he's just like, does it feel good? Like, did you come? And ask women are there with the vibrator having to finish ourselves off. That's what I used to do before my injury. All the time. Where now it's like, no, the guys have to ask me.
You're really throwing your partner under the bus here.
No, my ex.
Oh.
That was my ex.
No, the current partner.
Oh, no, the partner. He's good though. No. He is good. Satisfied. Very sad. I had my first orgasm. I didn't know that was a thing. See, I'm learning. I'm 4 years in and I don't even know. I wasn't convinced that I could have an orgasm. So, because I can, I just want to talk about it and educate it and like.
I mean, it's nothing. It's great that you can talk about it. I was like, when we were talking, I was like, do I bring it up? I've never heard, I've never heard people in wheelchair talk about it. I've never gone to Pornhub and Googled wheelchair.
Yeah,
there must
I
be
did.
shit.
There's nothing.
There's
so I was like,
nothing?
oh, there's a spot in the industry.
OnlyFans coming. Hey, Tilds, I might need some advice.
We could do a collab.
But for me, it's like, you need to meet people that you're in tune with.
Yep.
And, it's taken something like this for you to be in tune with someone.
Yeah. Or it's taken an injury. Like, that's why I always thank my injury, because without my injury, I wouldn't be brave enough to put my health first and foremost. I feel like I'm such a giving person that I would always go out of my way for other people and never look out for me and I treat myself and my mental health the way I'll treat my best friend or my sister. Like, as much as I care about them, why don't I do that to myself? Like, I'm the one living in my own head. Look after me first. And with the sex life, I was like, well, I don't want to sit there and pretend that this is good. Like, it's going to be shit for me. So I was like, nah, I'm going to ask what I want so I can get it.
Wow.
And I feel like a lot of women don't do that though. Like, how many women right now, if they listen, I bet you they'll be like, oh, shit, I use a dildo to finish myself off because my partner doesn't. Like, because it's awkward. It's an awkward conversation to have. But because of my injury, the guys are like, and they ask the questions and I'm just like, look, do this and this and this and you'll be fine.
So it's like a playbook.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
I actually when I was on Tinder, I'll throw myself under the bus here, but when I was on Tinder, I had literally a paragraph that I would always answer to because our guys would always ask it. I'm like, fuck, I'm sick of typing this out. Yeah. And it was literally all the things I just copy paste and reply to them.
So that's, it's great advice for anyone, not just if you're in a wheelchair. Yep. It's actually, hey, talk about it. This is what I want. This is what makes me feel good.
Yep.
And work together, especially when you're with a partner. Mm-hmm. Tinder. Now, I'm too old for Tinder. I've been with Nat, I don't know, we've been to probably 16, 17 years now. Wow. I've been married for 13 and I miss the Tinder boat, but I'm being lucky enough that when I go away with the race crews, I grab their Tinder profiles, and I swipe for them. I feel it makes me feel pretty good. Like, I've got no idea. I did swipe all guys for one of the blokes one day. He didn't think it was that funny, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yep.
When you're meeting someone on Tinder, are you one of these that has the profile pic that looks amazing? I mean, you're a good-looking lady, but doesn't show you're in a wheelchair? And then you rock up and, surprise!
Nah, so I was the opposite because I was so self-conscious about my injury. When I was paralysed, I was like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm confident, I'm whatever. And then I broke up with my ex, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, shit, I have to start from scratch now. And I was so paranoid of how people would think. And I'm like, well, if anyone's going to be with me, I want them to know exactly who I am because I don't want them to get with me and then be like, oh, they're not ready for this or ready for that. So that's why I was so open on my social media because I'm like, this is who I am. This is what you're going to get behind closed doors as well. If you don't like it, you're not going to come swipe my way anyway. So I'd rather people that actually were like, oh, yeah, we'll swipe yes.
So is it have a whole bunch of people that are into kinky wheelchair stuff? I'm just assuming it would.
No, not so much with the dating side of things. I never experienced weird people who were like, I want to tick off a bucket list of a wheelchair person. Through the DMs, it was weird. There are people that dedicate pages obsessed with wheelchair people, and they would mess it, and it's actually creepy. I thought people asking for feet pics were one extra wheelchair disability. There are kinks where people just love it. It's weird, but I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
Uh-huh. Okay, so you were before we get on. I know we're talking about relationships. We might as well. We're in that boat. Were you in a relationship with someone when you had your accident?
Yes. So I had a partner of 4 years or something before my accident. And then when I was paralysed, something I wasn't very open about on social media just because I'm the type of person that likes to never speak on topics with emotion. I try what?
I find that so hard to believe.
I'm literally crying on my Instagram the other day. But I try not to. So because that was a very toxic relationship, I never spoke about what happened and so forth. But basically, I was in a very toxic and negative relationship, and the reason I would always say to people like, how do you like say what you say? Because I would always say like my injury was the biggest blessing of my life. I could never go into depth with that sentence, and what I really meant to say was like my injury was the biggest blessing because it made me wake up and finally realize how important life was and being happy. And my injury just made me realize like the relationship that I was in, I was just waking up and this person was so negative and abusive physically and emotionally and financially, like just so evil and just draining any positivity out of me. I was just like, how can someone with their legs be so negative? I just couldn't. I was like, how am I dealing with this so fine? And they weren't. So I was like, I actually got physically abused after 8 months after my injury, and that was the line that I was just like, right, now that I can't defend myself, I have to like get out of here. So I left.
So do you mind if we talk about that?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So when you hear of controlling relationships, and you know, I guess we all see it with other people, with that bloke on maths at the moment.
Oh, I'm not even watching it, but I know who you're talking
Harrison.
about.
Like, yeah, I'm not having a go at Harrison, but you know, when you see it with other people, you know, there's only so much you can do especially if you're not best friends with someone. But what sort of things, when you talk about mental abuse, were you getting it previous to the accident?
Yes.
So what's an example? Because it's a lot of things that, you know, people don't like talking about because it's a bit too raw. Yeah.
Well, I feel like, for example, I haven't watched Maths, but I did watch one episode, and it's crazy because we can look at this girl and think like, what are you doing with this guy? Like, can't you clearly see he's gaslighting or he's... Yeah. But when you're that girl, I can sympathise because I was that girl. You're so brainwashed, and this is what people don't realise. When you're with a narcissist, by the way, I didn't even know what a narcissist was. I thought that was just a term to call someone a bad person. Like, I literally didn't know the definition. And once I learned that, and once I was like, I figured out this brainwashing happened. Like, you basically date yourself. This is how the best way to describe it. When you meet a narcissist, they reflect what you're like. So they do the things that you're doing, and you're seeing yourself in this person, falling in love with yourself because they're like, oh, I like to do this for them. They're doing that for me too. Like, this is what a relationship is supposed to be. And then once they've got you, so for example, whoever this guy's on Maths, once they're out in the
short period of time, just for the record.
Yeah, once they're in the real world, that's when the emotional abuse starts happening. And what they do is they slowly belittle you and they make you question everything. They make you question your worth. They, like, simple things like I was actually saying to my current boyfriend, Jesse, I was saying to him, like, I remember him saying to me, like, when's the last time you've heard from your friend, whoever? And I was like, oh, it's been like that. Like, he's like, that's not your friend. They're not your friends. They don't care about you. When's the last? It's like little things like this. I used to believe that, oh, if I didn't hear from my friend in a couple months, that they don't care about me. They're not my friends. It's just,
well, I've done something.
Yeah, and it's just like I don't know how to explain it other than it's like so many little things that they question you and they make you question yourself, and you're actually in a different state of mind. Like, my breaking up with my ex, I describe as waking up out of a coma. Like, completely different person. You see everything. You finally get out of the relationship, and then slowly you're like, I was happy. I was like, sweet, I'm happy. I've broken up with him. And then it was like a different grieving process because slowly, bit by bit, you're figuring out every single lie they made. You're figuring out all the things that they did to control you. For example, my twin sister, like I said, we've spoken 3 times so far.
She would have to know everything.
So, yeah, we've spoken 3 times today. I wasn't calling my sister back when I was with my ex because when she would call me, I didn't know subconsciously he was wiring my brain to have so he would always have an argument with me after my sister called. And it wouldn't always be about my sister, but he would always say something negative, and then it would grow into an argument. Subconsciously, I learned not to answer my phone when he was around. Yeah. And over time, I actually drifted so far apart from my sister, And once I broke up with him and once I realised what narcissists do and how they work, I'm like, oh my God, that was another tactic they had. Like, they know how to do things so to avoid having a alteration, you start doing things completely out of character. But that's just because you're in, what's the word, like fight or flight mode. Like, you're in survival mode, so you're just focused on making sure you're not going to get to that.
They also alienate to try and, it's no different than a cult mentality where you got to alienate from people that are close. And I think destructive relationships at the time, I mean, you see this, whatever, Brian, you talk about maths because it's topical, but she's an attractive woman. He's an attractive guy, but you can see it's always about him. Yeah. And I'm way more important than you are, and you'll have to come on my grounds. And then, the funny part of the show, he says things and then he says, I didn't say that. But I'm sorry, it's on camera. You've actually said it. You have, yeah. And I think when you see, people talk about physical abuse, that's one thing. Yep. But mental abuse...
so much worse.
Yeah.
So I would tell, that's why when people were shocked when I tell them, I was choked out because he made me pass out before my injury. And then when he...
Didn't you like that?
No, sexually. Maybe that's why I've got a trauma response to the kick. They say it's got to do with trauma. But no, different.
So you're saying it was a physical abuse?
So before it was before the injury, physical and it was everything. But when I was paralyzed, when he finally physically abused me again... that's when I was like, okay, I can't do this because I might die, because he's made me pass out before, and this time he did it. He took my wheelchair away and my phone. And so I felt so helpless in the bed, not being able to do anything. But the emotion, I tell people, when people freak out, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe he touched you and you're paralyzed. I'm like, I don't even think of that. Doesn't even cross my mind. I think of all the emotional abuse that has so much more... to me, I feel like women, when they try to sympathise with me, they're like, oh, but it wasn't as bad as your situation because my ex didn't touch me. That doesn't matter whether he hit you or not. If you're getting emotionally abused, that is just as bad, if not worse. What
advice do you have to girls and guys and whatever else? What advice do you have to them if they feel they've been mentally abused?
It's so hard. I actually wish I could have a right answer, because I know I'll go off later and I'll have a perfect answer for it. But my biggest tip is I always thought I loved myself. My dad always, gave us compliments.
He must be like me.
Our heads were huge. We're the most gorgeous girls. Because Dad would always tell us that. And we're Dad taught us to love ourselves, and I always thought I did. But you don't. My injury and the traumas that I've gone through, I'm like, my biggest advice is for women or men, because obviously it can happen both ways, is learning to love yourself fully and properly. And that means even going into childhood traumas or anything. When you love yourself, that means you can set a boundary and you won't let anyone cross that boundary. The minute you set a boundary with someone and they cross it and you just let that slide, that's just proof there that you don't actually respect and love yourself as much as you think you did. When I learnt to create boundaries, when my mum taught me, she goes, you do not hurt the people that you love, and you cannot love someone unless you respect them. And I feel like respect and love go hand in hand. For example, I respect you. If I said something to offend you at any time in this podcast and you said, hey, Christina, the way you looked at my smiley friends upset me, I would feel so... apologetic. I'm like, okay, what do I have to do, JP? What do you want me to do? And someone that respects you would do that. Yeah. So trying to work out people that don't care how you feel and they don't care that they actually hurt you, do not love you and do not respect you. So it's my advice would be to actually understand that you are worthy of people treating you right, and you are worthy of people loving you the way you love them.
Yeah. That's very powerful words. I'm going to change it a notch.
Yeah, go for it.
Now, have you heard of spinal cord implants?
No.
So it's a technology.
Stem cell?
Not
or Elon Musk.
Yeah, Elon Musk style, but that's the Neuralink. But Do you think of your injury and think of what's going on in technology? We can, land space rockets on little pontoons. We can get monkeys to play Pong with their mind and never lose. Do you think that you will see something in your lifetime that you may potentially walk again?
So I was hoping with the Elon Musk. But now did you hear that they've said no to him?
Oh, they've just said no to the initial part of the testing, but they've tested on pigs. They've
tested on monkeys. I was watching the
have you watched that?
The live
that is wild.
YouTube thing. I never, since my injury, actually believed there was a chance that I would walk again until I said, I'm like, you know what? Red Bull. I'm a Red Bull Wings for Life ambassador, so I do there was another Red Bull. Actually, had a guy in my position walking again. I believe. Definitely, at some point there will be something. Whether that's going to be in my time, I don't know. But I actually
100% it will be.
I just even if it's not walking, even if they invent an Ironman suit and I can walk around
there's something out there called Rewalk. Have you seen that?
Is that like a robo thing? And they've got So I've seen stuff like that, but it's. I feel like. Unless I can walk 100%, I'm happy to sit down. It's actually easier. I went out for dinner, caught up with a mate in Brisbane, same injury, a little bit worse off because he can walk, but he's has a walking stick. And I was like to him, dude, come on, you might as well just have a wheelchair. I'm waiting for you. Wouldn't it be easier just to roll? We're taking so long because he has to walk. I'm like, okay, you got your legs, but sometimes it's just easier in the wheelchair. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Oh my God, that's like walking around my mum. Oh my God, Mum, hurry up. You'd be a lot quicker in a wheelchair.
If she was in a wheelchair. Just so with stuff like that, that's cool. But if I want to walk, I want to climb a mountain. I want to go. I don't want to just walk straight and carry 10 kilos of machinery with me. More, it'd be heavier.
Yeah, I think there will be. I will definitely see it. No doubt about it. And it's scary to think that my kids that are under the age of 10, they might not ever drive because the technology is good enough. Yeah, obviously some people are going to die, but no more than people now. And we're wondering why our road toll's high at the moment. I solely think it's because people are on their phone. And when you've got your phone hiding it from being up above you, I'm not saying I'm one of these people.
Do you see the new cameras in Adelaide?
Yeah, correct.
Detection cameras.
And rightly so, because you can be driving and in front you go, that person's on their phone. It's like they're drunk. And these head-on crashes, you don't have a head-on crash if you're watching where you're going.
Unless you're asleep. Because I'm from the country, we do get a lot of people dozing off because I've been one of those people.
And it happens, but the technology, and when we were doing a bit of research looking at, you got that Rewalk, which looks like a bit of a RoboCop thing, but you got the Neuralink, which Elon Musk is working on, and that, if anyone wants to watch that,
that's so cool.
That presentation is they have a monkey playing Pong, and the monkey's choosing both sides, and it hits the ball, and that's just the long stick and the ball going backwards and forwards. But the monkey hits it every time. Boom, 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 boom. And it's using its mind to do that. I think you'll definitely see something. Yeah. And I think it'll go to the people that have the right attitude, that actually want to give it a crack, and it might take something evasive. And with the Neuralink, they cut a piece out of your skull and connect parts of your brain.
Like I say to people, I shouldn't say this, but I say someone really rich and famous needs to get paralysed. So then they can fund it and see the importance, because there's so many things, even wheelchairs. How many years have these wheelchairs been out, and why hasn't a car company come out with a smart wheelchair or something
drives itself?
Yeah, that
moves in and out like a Tesla.
Easy. Yeah,
come on, Elon Musk, if you're listening.
That's why I was really looking forward to Elon Musk, because I'm if anyone's going to do it, I'm sure he would be determined to do it.
He is one. he's a very unique person on the planet that's doing things that are definitely bucking the system. I'm an Elon Musk fan.
Yeah.
And the Tesla battery here got a big plug on a worldwide stage just recently about how South Australia's leading the way.
Yeah, didn't we have a big battery of his?
We've got a big battery of his, yeah. And when it came up about a dare to build something, if I don't build it in time, I'll give it to you free. And it was $1 billion thing, which was built on time. And it adds us to stop the shredding. Is that right? The shredding. Yeah, it's losing skin. The shedding, which has helped with, I can't say that. We just had 3 stores under blackout just recently. But I look at the technology there, and I got an 8-year-old Tesla.
Yep.
And its auto drive function is remarkable, and that's in the old model. Yeah, do wheelchairs have something like that?
Like they do have a lot more technology for like I've seen at rehab, but I don't really focus on it. But I know there are stuff out there that I think quadriplegics can use their eyes to like do things. I've got a quadriplegic mate in New Zealand, and just crazy the things he does with like Siri and how much Siri can help with like I feel like with technology and the way it's going, there will be something, and that's why I say to people, whether I'm actually physically walking myself or there's something developed that I can like slip into like an Iron Man suit and control myself.
A full assist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're going to see it.
Yeah.
So, and looking it up, that rewalk is pretty special. Have you watched any of the Boston Dynamic robots? Have you seen anything of them?
The Boston.
Oh, I'll blow your mind a bit later on. They're wild. Like they've developed some of the most unbelievable robots, albeit their videos are just too cool. I think
are they the ones that like they show like jumping over obstacles and they're just like really smooth and I think I've seen a bit of that.
I don't know if those videos involve a bit of CGI, do they? Bullshit. I'm looking at the young technician here. You serious? Like they just look too slick.
Yes, and too smooth.
They're too cool.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I think a little bit too slick. But I think you're going to see that sort of stuff.
Yep. No, definitely.
You clearly look back at things and think, okay, the world's in front of you. What, you've talked about, your year off. Now it's 4. What would you really want to get into?
Well, I'm hoping I am currently building an S13 with an LS1 in it. So I'm hoping to get into the drifting.
Hang on, just explain to this. So you're building an S13. So
Nissan Silvia.
Yep.
JDM. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know a lot of things a couple of years ago. So it's a Japanese car, small, very lowered, and a
2-door.
2-door, and I'm putting a V8 motor inside of it, which, as the boys have described, was a very high torque motor in a light shell, which will make me do burnouts very easily.
Nothing better than doing burnout. So, how'd you get into drifting?
So it was my birthday. I don't even know what day it is today. It was my birthday on Monday. It was my birthday. So, and a memory came up exactly 3 years ago. I had a friend just invite me out drifting, and I was like, oh, it's 10 hours away, like, it's too far. And then they needed someone to look after their dog, and I was like, you know what, stuff it, I'll just drive.
Hang on, so what was this? Someone's saying come drifting, but you had to look after their dog.
And they had a dog that they were looking for someone to look after it while they were there. And I was like, you know what, let me just drive the 10 hours and I'll look after, while they're drifting, I'll just look after their dog in the car. And on my birthday at 10 o'clock at night, I drove, I think 6 hours. I got to, a town in New South Wales, and then I slept for a couple of hours, got up, drove the rest in the morning, and I went drifting the day after my birthday. And basically the first corner, like I would explain dirt bike riding, that like adrenaline rush and that like sense of like, I don't know, my heart was just happy. Like if you could see my heart, it was smiling, and I was just like, instantly I knew that's the same feeling.
Were you driving?
No, you were passenger. I was passenger. But I knew, I was like, oh my God, I didn't know I could find something that would give me that same feeling. So I was like, this is what I'm going to do. And then 2 weeks later, I bought my S13. But it's been 3 years now building it because it's very expensive.
Yeah, Phoenix Restoration Jack. Thank you. It's been about 6 years.
Dean Rossiter.
Yeah.
Love your heaps. Dean Rossiter Custom Fabrication.
Yeah, I feel I've got like a money pit jack.
Yeah.
It just keeps on paying. What was that for? Oh, okay. All right. Oh, can you notice anything different on the car? Oh, not really. Like, it's looking straight, though. I'm going to have the best Datsun 1600 wagon.
Oh, do you have a Datsun? I love that.
With an SR20.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. That's what I think my car came out with originally, an SR20, but now with the LS.
Have you got the engine? I'd take that engine. Yeah, of course you haven't.
But Dean's been working on my car, and it's just one of the. I've been there though physically to watch it because I know nothing about cars. I have no idea what any of it was. So I was like, I need to witness it so I can learn about it, and I'm there to witness how many hours is involved. Like something as simple as like putting the hard line in for the rear brakes. You're like, like 2 days of like doing stuff and doing other wire. It's just crazy.
So the throttle? How's the throttle going to be for this car?
I'm going to have it as the same as what you've seen in my Ford Ranger. So it's the Bluetooth hand control that wraps around my hand, I guess.
It's pretty cool. Like it's like a cyborg.
Yeah. That's what
so it's, for me, I saw it like, and you go, you put your hand in it and you use your index finger, thumb.
Yep.
To throttle.
Yep.
So that'll be the what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know actually.
How are you going to do because we're drifting, for people that don't know, hey, I've been in a drift car. Don't think I'm much the drifter.
Oh, really?
I can get a car sideways, but not to the skill level of these people. And then lots of handbrake.
Yep.
Like to lock the handbrake, and then it doesn't look like you change down in gears now I think about it. It's actually you're in gear, handbrake, and then accelerate, right?
So
have you tried this yet?
No,
never.
I've done burnouts, like standstills and straight with my SV6U, and that's about as far as I've gotten. I've never done a burnout. I've never like moved the car. So this one's gonna have a 3-speed automatic gearbox. Well, it's got it, 3-speed automatic. And then the handbrake is on my left, and you pull back like a normal handbrake, but it's a dual action handbrake. So when you push forward, it locks up all the wheels like a normal brake. So I can still brake if I need to, if like I'm losing control, whatever, which will happen a lot, I'm sure. And then the Bluetooth, no one's done the hand control I've done drifting. So we actually don't know how it's going to go because there might be a bit of lag or
in the world.
Not with my hand control, not that I know of. I think there's only like 2 other girls that I know of that are paralysed drifting. I think I'm going to be the first Australian girl, so I'm stoked with that.
Really?
Yeah. There's a few guys. There's a guy in Adelaide. There's another guy. I was actually going to copy Tyson's car in Queensland. He has a O-ring. I don't know what it's called. It's like a ring, and then you've got the steering wheel. So as he's holding the steering wheel, his thumbs push into this ring and accelerate. But because the wheels are obviously spinning, and so I just wanted to try my way first, so I'm not getting confused with the 2 ways. And then if it doesn't work, I'll try something else. That's not my issue though. Now I'm like, just need to get the car done, and then I'll worry about that stuff later.
I'm laughing. How long till this car will be done?
Okay, so it's been 3 years now since I bought it. Mind you, COVID happened, so about 1.5 years was nothing, and I had to get it from Tassie to. That's why I was interstate. So COVID hit and it was stuck in Tassie. And then I got it to my mate Dean's, and we just had the impression that it's only going to be a quick job, get engine and gearbox in, and that, should be done in 6 months. It was a whole car. Like, it was just a rolling shell. So everything is being built, custom fabbed, brand new, just because I'm not like a materialistic type of person, but because of my injury and because I'm the type of person, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it properly. I'm not going to half-ass it. So I don't want to get out on the track and my first day drifting, I've got issues because something's broken from wear and tear. So Dean's doing everything to the car. I'm hoping, I don't want to say it because every time I say it, it's always like another 6 months after.
Fucking put Dean on the spot.
Dean, I want it done this winter, I'm hoping. But he's a tuner for the top fuelers. So the Burson top fuel drag cars, he tunes, like he's crew chief of that. So he's always interstate. So booking in with him is like every 2 months. So it's hard. But
don't worry. I feel your pain.
Yeah. It's like waiting. I wish I could work on cars. But now I've got a boyfriend that knows how to do car stuff.
You've mentioned this boyfriend a few times. So Watching your footage, noticed that you do a fair bit of, you go to drift events.
Yep.
I don't, oh fuck, I hope this is right. Is your boyfriend got a white BMW or is that a different guy?
Oh, that's Jake Jones. I love you, Jake. No, Jake's like, Jake is the best. He's one of my good mates. So that's Jake Jones, Drift Squid, aka Squidalicious.
He seems like he's got a cool get up.
Yeah, that's a.
Is it like
that's a proper setup? Like that's like. A lot of money has gone into that. But yeah, no, he's like one of my best mates. Like we contact all the time. He's actually going to be there for my first time drift. Like from 3 years ago, we started talking, and from like
fuck, he could be dead by the time you get your car.
Yeah, I know. And that's what I said. I'm like, you're going to come out for my first day. But no, Jesse is in a 33 sedan, white, similar, but not nowhere near to the drift spectres that BMW.
So your new squeeze, was it through drifting, or how did you meet this person?
Jesse? Yeah, so I became friends with a drifter called Cam Martin. Shout out, Cam, love you too. In Melbourne, and I became friends with him and his girlfriend Kalani, and he was best mates, or one of his best mates was Jesse, and just through socials, he just like followed me, and I had this like thing with guys, like I just don't follow guys unless I have a solid reason. And I remember thinking he was cute, and I was like, and I stalked his page, and I was like, he's got an S13. Okay, that's enough of an excuse. I'll follow him. And then I remember he messaged you or something, and I was just like playing it off like, we've got S13s. We're like, automatically friends. And then I went to Melbourne, and we were at an event, and I seen him at the corner of my eye. And we met in person, and then, I don't know.
How does it happen? Like, he's got legs, he's standing. Like, what? How does
with sex?
No, fucking Jesus Christ! I think you've explained that enough.
Okay.
But like, how's that? Like, that's it. It just was a connection, no different than anyone else, and.
Yes, that's why I feel like, and that's why.
Yeah, as a guy, like I'm thinking. Well, I haven't thought about it, but if you're going to make a move on someone and they're in a wheelchair, it's obviously a totally different light. Yep. It's something that I don't know. Maybe I'm just so naive.
No. So that's what I love about my injury, because it's so out there that I feel like when people that I know that I'm close to, when they get with guys, and I can just see it, I'm like, you go through this honeymoon phase, and then it's like, okay, this is the reality. You know how they say relationships at the start and then verse a year later, and all the true colours come out. With my injury, the true colours were already out. So I felt like a lot of men aren't into it, which is totally fine. Like, I'm not into certain, like, everyone has a preference with who they want to hook up with or whatever. My disability filtered a lot of men out. So I knew, having my disability, someone like Jesse, when they come along and they were giving me attention, I was just like, oh yeah, I think he's into me. But like, when they're like persistent or, making efforts, like doing, like going the extra mile because of my disability, it's very obvious, but it wasn't like a normal hookup situation. Like it was just like, careful. Like, we were talking and we took it slow, and even sex, we took ages to have that because too much information. But every time I was visiting you, it was that time of the month, so I couldn't even do that. Sucked. But we finally got there.
I got the pit. I got the mess. I get the message. So that's cool. So you like drifting now, but you haven't done it.
No. I'm fully passionate about it, and that's. I feel like
half the battle.
Same with the riding the dirt bikes. You have people that have been born and bred on dirt bikes, and they're like passionate about it. And if you don't know all these types of bikes, they like look at you like you're like you don't like bikes. You can't even name what this bike is. And with the drifting, I'm the same. Like, I don't know anything about cars. I'm just learning all this, but it doesn't mean just because I don't know a lot about that topic doesn't mean I'm just as passionate as
I'm not as passionate
as these other people. And that's why I obsess over it, and I go to all these drift events. Like, looking back, there's a lot of drifters I know, and I feel like I've been to more drift events or been into more cars than these guys have been, just because I'm just obsessed with it.
I find that I get excited over stuff, but there's lots of people out there that know way more about my cars or Hot Wheels car. Like,
Yep.
I love them, but I'm not researching who was the first person to. Or like, you know, you speak to some young kids and they know more about your cars than you. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's how I am. Like, just because you don't go into depth about learning about it doesn't mean you don't love it.
Yeah, I find that a lot.
Yeah.
I get to a stage of like, oh yeah, I know this, and that's enough for me to go. But I love it just as much as anyone else. But you know, for me, you know, in the end, you know, I don't really give a fuck if you love something and I don't. Like, and that's what I think I've learnt. I've had to deal with people that, you know, I'll say with the people that comment that don't even know me, and I'm like, you know, sorry, who's that person? Like, you know, have I met that person? No, like, I really don't give a fuck what that person says. And it's more of the people that it's easy to hate someone. Like, it's actually harder to be nice.
Yep. Same as negative thoughts. It's so easy to have a negative thought over a positive one. To recorrect yourself and think something negative is so much easier. It's easier to have a judgment. Yeah,
it's funny. I look back on, and when it's mostly reflection through haters, to be honest. And I sit and I go, why would you say that, like, about someone or something that you have no idea?
Yeah, what's going on, or you don't know the context about. You could upload something and they have no idea. Like, I remember I went to Queensland, and my biggest lesson because I'm always learning. I love learning. I love listening to other people's opinions. And I remember we were at a friend's house on the Gold Coast, and they were referring to an Instagram girl that does OnlyFans. She's got like 1 million followers, and we'll just talk. She just came up in the topic, and a guy sitting there was just like, "Oh my God, I hate that girl." And we were all friends, but this guy, the house owner, was like straight in his face, like, "Hold on, how do you hate her? Yeah. You don't know her." He goes, "Oh yeah, but shit." He goes, No. You've never met her. I bet you if you and her sat in this kitchen together, you would get along with her. And she's actually a really nice chick. And I remember that like sticking in my head, like how quick people can make judgments. And I bet you if you met, you'd love them. It's just like, it's just easier to judge. And I feel like one thing I always think of with people is anything negative someone says is just a reflection of them and what's going through their life. I'm self-proclaimed happy person. I have no need to say anything negative about someone else. I'm happy living my life, doing my thing. So if someone's going to do that to me or to you or whatever, it just shows what they're dealing with, and you just feel sorry for them. Like, I just generally feel like they're in a shit place in life.
Yeah, I get it all the time. I mean, with the podcast, I wanted to make sure that I speak to anyone. You know, could be regardless of what it is, but, you know, people that have somehow inspired me.
Yep.
And I look at Tildes, poor girl, like, she cops a lot of shit from people that have no idea who she is. And when you speak to her, she seems like she's a great chick. Yeah. And then I had people hating on the Johnny Capiris St. Bernards. They're like, how dare you talk to that filthy scumbag? And I'm like, okay, I'm not allowed to talk to whoever I want. And I'm like, I think just listen to yourself. Like, you're trying to tell people what they can and can't do.
It says a lot more about how invested they are. Like, it says a lot about them. And with Tildes, and like, I met Tildes first time at the LA 500 where I seen you with Courtney, and I remember thinking to myself, it's always people like Tildes or the ones that are getting the most hate that I find are personally the most beautiful, nicest people. And I'm like, fuck, these people are amazing. If they were in a room with the person that's commenting on your post, it would just, they would just shit on them. Like, they are just... I would much rather hang out with Tildes than a person that has nothing but something negative to say.
Yeah, I agree. It's an interesting world we're coming up with, and I think about my girls, and I think, fuck, I don't know what to think about moving forward, but especially about the social stuff, the trolling. I look at it and think, fuck, there's just so much jealousy.
Yep.
And I think that's the word. Yeah. Like, if you could earn a couple of $100,000, you're showing whatever you wanted to show, and that's what you're earning a month, like, good on you. Yeah. I mean, it's not...
If it's not affecting you personally, I would teach your girls, like what Dad would always teach.
Well, we had that conversation. Yeah. I was like, fuck, what if one of my girls says, oh, Dad, just start my OnlyFans page? Fuck, I'd be fucking horrified. Yeah. be like, all right, no, none of my mates can look at this. This is disgusting. But I look at it, I think, fuck you. I just want my girls to be happy.
Happy. As long as they're happy. And that's what Dad would always say to us, like, as long as you're happy and you treat everyone nicely. Like, I remember Dad growing up, like, we'd go to school and Dad would always be like, you know, a girl that we knew didn't have a lot of friends and was getting bullied at primary school, he'd be like, for example, I'm just going to call her Emma, you know, Emma's over there, like, go walk with her because you're going to give her a reason to smile because that might be the only time she smiles today.
Well, your dad's amazing.
Oh, he's amazing. No, like, the stuff he would brain up wash us with, and he would always say, you don't know who Emma's going to be one day. One day she might be your boss. She might be your bank manager. She might be this person, and you need her. You don't treat people poorly because you want to be nice to everyone, and having that mindset, like, growing up, just not to bully others and just, like, be happy. Just witnessing it through Dad and witnessing how many situations my dad was in that could have turned nasty. For example, like, just any situation where someone could complain or make a scene or make a fuss out of something, and Dad doing the complete opposite, and having to witness how something like that, the karma my dad could get from it, or the stuff that would, like, you know, for example, if, like, the food was shit at a restaurant, knowing my dad could make a scene and complain about it, but instead became friends with the chef and said something nice, and then the chef gave Dad a voucher for $200. That's very hypothetical. But, like, growing up, I just witnessed the good karma my dad got from being a really nice person.
No, it's the other night we were out somewhere, ordered too much food, meat, wine and co. Pretty expensive there, just for the record. Like, I wasn't paying for it, but I was like, damn. Heaps of food.
Yep.
And I thought, oh, no, I'll grab this. And on the way home, just before the car park there, heaps of homeless people.
Yep.
So I had the ribs, like, good food.
Yeah.
I stopped, and now there's a couple there, and they were homeless. And I said, oh, how are you guys going? And I sat down, ended up sitting with them for an hour.
Yep.
And just, you know, when you listen to how close you like that sliding doors moment, how this person was a signaller for the army and just, you know, had an addiction problem, which meant they were awake late at night, which meant people complained, and then that meant they lost their housing trust. And, you know, just small little events that evidently put them homeless. This dude was smart. It was not a silly person at all. And I get home and that goes, fuck. What were you doing? I said, I ended up chatting to him for like an hour. And it can happen to anyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, you think there's some moments there where I'm pretty positive. I'm optimistic. I'm always looking for the best of people. And I genuinely think most people enjoy working with me or around me.
Well, that's why I was excited to come on this show, just because you can't judge people from social media, but you can get a bit of an idea. And that's why I was so excited to come here, because I could see that in you, and I'm like, oh, I love that type of energy, and I could see people, like, saying some hate, and it's just like, I feel like people on, like, different levels in life, and I could see that in you too. That's why I was like, I'm coming here, definitely. Yeah.
And for me, it's like, you know, it can happen with anyone. Now, if I go back to your social media, now, you seem to hit the road running, well, let's say wheeling, right? After your accident, and you filmed everything. You produced YouTube clips, and then it's like you stopped. And I put it down to, you thought, fucking hell, this is the editing of this shit's a pain in the ass. Was I right in seeing that?
Definitely, 100% right. But also, even the last year, like, I used to, like, when I first was injured, I would put, like, paragraphs in my my Instagram posts, do all these motivational stuff. And the last year, I was like, you know what? I'm going to save all that energy for me and just live in the moment. Like, I remember I went to Bali. It was my first overseas trip. And I was like, everyone was like, you should vlog it. And I thought that too. I was like, no, I'm just going to enjoy the moment, not worry about filming it, getting the right angles and stuff like that. But I'm also doing that because I know once I start drifting, my plan is to start doing it then. So I didn't want to make everyone wait 3 years while building a car and then be like, and now the vlog started. So I just wanted to, I'm holding it off.
Bullshit. You know? I'm calling bullshit. You are not. The editing, unless you got someone doing it.
Yeah, it takes so much time.
Right.
I'll do drifting edits, that's it. And I won't be drifting very often. I'll be drifting, like, there's only track days every so often. So
how much do you think social media has a part to play with storytelling?
A lot, but at the same time, you can't get everything from social media. That's why I try to be as transparent as I can. Like the other day I was crying on Instagram, like cringe, I know. But
Is that to get likes?
No, it was just because I was literally so emotional because Ticket Tech were being such assholes.
What was this? I didn't see
Okay,
this.
so what happened was, long story short, the way disabled people have to book tickets online for the footy game is completely like stupid, and it's like so outdated. We can't just book a ticket.
Hang on, what team do you go for?
Paul Power. Oh, what do you mean? You had Charlie Dixon here. You can't.
Charlie's a fucking cool dude.
I love Charlie.
Yeah, have you been to the game with Port Power?
I went the other weekend. I was there getting carried and cheering. I'm always
on the field?
No, not on the field.
Why not? Can you go on the field?
I don't know, Charlie. Can I? Can you get Charlie? You know Charlie. He's
someone record this and we'll say, hey, Charlie.
Shout out to Charlie. Do you mind getting me on the oval?
No, wait. Go. Who's it on? Is it on Christina?
So I think there's a showdown next weekend. Charlie, if you can just give us a push on the oval, that will that'll make my dreams come true. Charlie,
this sounds like you got to come through with this, Charlie. Please.
When has a wheelchair person been on the oval? Probably has been done. I don't know. If it hasn't, I'm your girl.
All right, Fee will send that to him. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing that sport can pull things together.
Yeah, but
he's a car nut, just for the record.
Yeah, that's why I love him. So I was Travis Boak was my husband in my head. He's a Port Power player, so he was my husband. That was my fantasy, and then I don't know how I came across Charlie, but I must have seen something about Chuck's Garage. Yeah. And I was like, no way, is this guy into car? And then once I realised he'd done his I was like, I love him. He's my favourite player now, because when you have that like motorsport enthusiastic like approach to just cars and stuff, like I just was like, okay, now we have something that we can bond on. Like, yeah, he's more realistically be my husband.
He loves dirt.
I'm joking.
He's probably single. But he loves dirt bikes too. Like, yeah. Can you get onto a bike?
Yeah, so I got back on a bike after my accident. I jumped back on 4 months later because my spinal doctor was like, "You'll need a 3-wheeled bike because you don't have any core balance, so you need a trike." And I was just like, "Nah, as long as I'm going, I've got momentum, I'll be fine." And I got on and filmed it and sent it to my spinal doctor, just to prove, because when you're in rehab, when you're in hospital, all you're told is everything you can't do. Can't do this, can't do that, can't do that. So I just wanted to show them, this is what I can do, so don't say it to other people. Same as social media. I show them as much as possible what I can do. Go to the games, go to this, even if I have to get carried, even if I have to do that, just giving people a glimpse of what can be done. I feel like anything in life, like once someone does a world first and it's been seen and watched, all of a sudden it's like, it's not impossible anymore. And then the next person wants to attempt it. And then until it's been viewed, then I don't know, I feel like
motocross, backflip, double backflip, and now they're trying triple.
They are doing triple. Triple seat grabs. It's crazy.
I'm into wakeboarding, and I thought I was cool on the river. I could do a back roll, and I was like, yeah. And then one day these boys went past, and they were doing like scarecrows and tantrums and back rolls and Pete moves on that, and I was like, fuck. And then ended up, fuck, well, how do you be better? You hang out with the better. And those Nat Barber from Platinum Plumbing, oh God, I can't even see the kid. He's gone AWOL since he's had a kid. Tommy Hines.
I don't know any of these names.
But, you know, these guys were all competing, and that's how you learn to be better. Yeah. And it's like, fuck, here I was thinking I was cool, and I tell my girls, like, you think you're good at this, or you just find people that are better, because generally in life there's always someone
someone better, and you want to push to do that. So same, I think I heard in one of the other podcasts, which I completely agree with. I say this to everyone. The 5 people you hang around with the most is a representation of you, or you don't want to be the best one out of the 5. You want to have people in your circle that you look up to, so that they can motivate you to do better, because you know there's a better version of you inside. I say you are. Yeah, you are who you are. You know, we say the top 5, 20% of each person. That, you know, those top 5 people you should be.
there's something in them that you aspire to be.
Yep.
And there's no doubt, whatever the reason, and they're all different too. Like they could be inspirational, they could be just something that gets the job done, they could be a motives or a moral thing. Yeah, it's weird,
Yeah.
but I fully believe in that. There's no doubt about that. So we've had a lot of people. So your social media, that's what I was saying. I was sort of having a dig at you.
Yeah, it's fine.
I think anyone that's tried YouTube realizes how difficult it is, and it's a talented. I think you can film stuff, no problem. Editing it, storytelling, making people watch it is extremely difficult.
Yep.
And the time, like I see kids like this, our previous editor, Ollie, which unfortunately he's now starting his own stuff. Good on Ollie. But the speed, and young Matt, who's next door, he's given the wings to Jack today, do the podcast. Hopefully it's in focus. If it is, it'll be one step against Matt. But for me, the speed of the edits is what's the difference.
Yeah,
like I'd be better off sitting behind him going, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that, and it'd be quicker than me sitting there. And I don't have the time. I just don't have the freaking time.
Now, I have the time. I just don't want to waste it doing that, and that's why I stopped filming. I was like, I don't want to put my energy into this just yet. Like I wanted to start it more so because have you heard of Adam LZ? He's like a car enthusiast. He's a drifter. Anyways, in the drift community, most people know who he is. I watched his YouTube, and he vlogged from day one in his little single port garage. Mind you, he's like a multi-millionaire now, has probably 30 plus cars, has his own compound, has his own drift. Like he has gone very, very far with his YouTube. But I wasn't really aiming for that. It was more so I loved the fact that I could witness his first ever lap in the car, and he was describing it all and watching him progress. I was like, I love progression. I love being shit. I really love being shit at stuff. Like I get more excited about trying something that's I know I'm going to be horrible at because I know I'm going to get better at it. And having that feeling of like knowing that you're getting better and better just like motivates you. Like it's not fun being the best at everything. Like of course you enjoy the prize money and trophies and stuff, but like being able to push yourself is what is like the most motivating thing for myself. So watching Adam LZ have that I was like, that's why I'm going to do YouTube, just to show the progress of where I started and where I've ended up. Because like I didn't do that with the dirt bikes, and if people knew I jumped that 30 centimeter gap and in 3 months jumped 50 foot, like it would have been so cool to document.
Yeah, I film a lot of stuff. I always think, it's so the girls can watch. You're not the grandkids one day, and I just think, I actually enjoy filming everything because I think it captures a moment. Yeah,
in time, and you'll never regret having that reference. I will show people like, oh my god, look at this time. Like I take so many photos with my friends. I had 120,000 photos and videos on my phone that I had to get rid of this year.
I thought I had a lot.
Yeah,
God,
no, I've got the most. You
must be on the 200 terabyte.
2 gigs and I'm 2 terabytes and I'm full.
And you're full?
They're like, upgrade your plan, and they're like, you are on the highest plan. I'm like, damn it. So that's why
I had a Google Pixel, and it's free storage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe it's free storage.
But that's why I take so many photos, because I've had friends that I was really close with pass away, and it's always the people that you hang out with the most that you never get photos with. Well, generally that was my case. Me and my best friend never had photos together. Like on her birthday, I'm like, shit, we have no photos because we're always hanging out together. So now I make it a mission to always like capture moments, do events, go to the Port Power game, film it, just to like look back, because you never know when that is going to be the last time you're with those people doing that thing.
That's so true. Talking about, do you get like, does it take not much for you to be drunk?
Yeah.
Like, do you have is it like, is it glass? Is your, I don't know, do you have high metabolism, low metabolism?
High metabolism, but with alcohol, before my injury, I was a lightweight. Now that I'm like 10 kilos lighter because of all the muscle loss, my issue with drinking is I will drink and I'm sitting down. You should know this now with the podcast. Have you noticed drinking and then you get up and it hits you?
Well, it's not like a Samboy ad where the flavour really hits you.
Yeah, so with the wheelchair, I'll be drinking and then I'm fine, another shot of vodka, because I just do shots of vodka, and then I'll go to the toilet And the moment I start rolling, I'm like, oh no, it's coming. By
Rolling.
the time,
So it's not walking, it's rolling.
By the time I've gone to like the toilet, I'm like, and it's hit me, and I'm like twice before I've passed out. By the time I've gone to the toilet, my eyelash tech found me in her spare bedroom with a catheter in. So it's like it's like a tube thingy that goes into your.
I've seen a picture of it.
Yeah, so it goes into you, and she found me passed out in my wheelchair holding my catheter in me. Like by the time I got there, I was too drunk. Hit me.
So the catheter doesn't go to a bag.
Yeah, it goes to a bag. Yeah.
So why do you got to go to the toilet?
What do you mean?
Like if it, you got to put it in.
Yeah, I need privacy. Oh, I've done that in front of people heaps of times.
Okay.
The
not
wheelchair.
looking for it. No, yeah, that's okay. That's what I was thinking. It does go to a bag, or yeah.
It depends what catheter. I can do one that goes straight to the toilet, but I just don't like to transfer on toilets.
Yeah.
So I'd rather just do it on the chair in a bag, then I can dispose of it.
Do you ditch the bag, or you got to pour it somewhere?
Yeah, it depends. If I'm in a place that doesn't have a bin, then I've got like garbage bags in my wheelchair, and I'll hold it until I find a bin, but normally just get rid of it.
Have you ever like ditched a bag out of the window?
No, I won't do that. I have slapped my sister across the face. She's like, it's warm. I don't know, I do that sometimes. It's just funny for me.
Red Bull, Wings for Life.
Yes.
Now, what is that?
So I'm an ambassador for Red Bull Wings for Life, so when I had my accident, I had Robbie Madison. You know how you were talking before about maths and like people being the center of attention? Yeah. So like my ex at the time was just like on the phone to Robbie and was like, Robbie was calling me to get me hooked up with Red Bull, but I never got to speak to him. Doesn't matter. But he kept calling and my ex.
So, yeah, keep going.
And then he rang and he was like trying to hook me up with Red Bull. And then he's like, because there's a Wings for Life program, which basically, for example, May the 7th this year, every year, they do a run that fundraises for spinal cord research. But Red Bull, what they do is they cover all the costs of organising the event. So 100% of the donations or entry fees for this run go straight directly to spinal cord research. So that's happening this 7th of May, which I encourage all of you, especially you, to do it, because there's the best thing about it, it's a run that has a finish line that chases you. So if you're not a runner, if you don't want to run, if you just want to go for a walk or whatever, you've got half an hour to do whatever you want to do. And once that half an hour clicks over, the catcher car, which if you're in different countries or Melbourne, they actually have a physical car that chases you down like at 5 kilometers an hour, and it increases every half an hour. It gets faster and faster. So eventually you're doomed. It's going to come get you, but how far you can go depends on
So you
what
mentioned
you
30 minutes. Why only 30 minutes?
They do. Because I think it's just to encourage anyone to just do it. It's just a fun night. Like well, obviously I'm not a runner, but like.
Are you a roller?
No. So I get pushed. So I have my other paralysed mates or people there, and they yell at me. They're like taking the piss out of me hard. They just give me shit for being, but like, you're not even pushing. And I'm like, I know I've got my arms, but stuff this. I'm not an athlete. So I get pushed by my mates, and they push me. We technically won. I won the female category. I got 27 kilometres. Not me, but
whoever pushed you.
Yeah.
I thought I saw some footage of you doing it. No?
Oh, yeah. I would have done it for like a...
No, but was it last year?
Yeah, it would have been. And I would have just done a couple pushes just for the, the reel, and then I'd be like, okay, cut back. My arms are sore. It's freezing. This year I'm aiming to do it. This year I'm like, you know what? I don't actually want to get pushed for so many hours because it's cold. It's at night. 160,000 people around the world roughly each year do this. So everyone around the world, no matter where you are, does it at the exact same time. So there's a live tally. Everyone's GPS is like your phone. You press start.
I saw you do it. So what time are what time are they?
8:30ish it will be.
Night in Australia.
Yeah, in Australia at night. But it's...
So where are you doing it?
At the where's the Adelaide 500? What's that called?
Oh, Victoria Park.
Yeah, so they'll do it at Victoria Park. So all Red will be there. We have DJs. There's water. You get lights given to you. You get a what's it called? Something to put on, a t-shirt or something
t-shirt.
A high vis thing, and then it's so fun because you're just doing a loop and. Yeah, so every now and then you go past, you got the drinks if you want a Red Bull fill up, you want water, and you got DJ. It's just so fun because it's motivating when all my friends, anyone that's ever done the Wings for Life with me have always gone way above their goal target. Like I had a mate like, oh, I'll do 3Ks, did 11Ks. Like my friend was running with no shoe on, had blisters. My stepdad has now completely stuffed up his knees. I'd had to have surgeries because when you're there and in like you're witnessing, like, you know what you're doing is for a good cause and you know you're running for people that can't, and you see people in wheelchairs, it's just something so motivating about actually using your legs.
It's cool. Cool. Okay, well, just remember, what day was that? What day?
May 7th.
May 7th, Wings for Life.
And if you can't make it, it's a $10 donation.
Or you can run around your own block.
Yeah, you can run anywhere. So that's the thing. So you can either come to Victoria Park or I've had friends that have just done it from home, or I've got Queensland friends that just do it. I had a Queensland friend last year and he was running and it started bucketing down again. He went over his target. He's like, and he was filming himself and he's like, I just can't stop. Like, I'm going to keep going and until the catcher can't get. It's just, I feel like because you're getting chased as well, you're just motivated to see how far you can go.
Sounds good. There's the date. We've got questions from some fans.
Yes. The fans, I love that.
Well, they're fans. We put a thing out asking questions. So this one's from Christina Vithoulkas.
Hey.
Just think she's so cool. Do you know her? Like, she's awesome. Tell her I said hi.
I just love it. I do questions like this to my sister when we don't already do Q&As. We just do smart-ass ones.
I think we've answered this one from Jessica Moi93. What did happen between your ex after your accident? So we've talked about that, so I don't think we need to go over that.
Yep.
Stefan Stengurio? Is that Stengurio? What hand controls do you have in your ute and what hand controls do you have in your drift car? Now,
So it's a Fadial. Yeah, you're going to have to check my Instagram highlights for that one.
and talked about too, so you can hear that. Now, drift squid. What's your favourite drifter? Who's your favourite drifter?
He knows he's my favourite drifter. He's 100% my favourite. My best drifting experience was with Jake.
Okay, so this is from him again. He's actually quite onto it here. Which supermarket caters the best for wheelchair accessibility? Now, is that a fucking loaded question? There must be something here.
I don't know. He's probably just being a smart ass. I feel like they all are, to be honest. I haven't witnessed a supermarket that isn't wheelchair friendly.
Okay, good. So I think she means Drake's.
Drake's, of course.
Bucket list location you want to travel to?
I've been to 24 countries, but there's a lot of countries that I want to go back to. But for my bucket list, I'd like to try something that I haven't been to, so I'd love to go to Japan.
Oh, love Japan.
Yeah, I really want to go there, but I don't know how wheelchair accessible things are, so it's kind of like, well, I have a quadriplegic friend though there now, and she
100%.
seems to be loving it, so I'm like, oh, well, she can do it, I'll be able to.
Japan's one of my favourite places in the world. People so good, the snow's so good.
Yeah, and that's where all like the drifting originated
would you go
from.
onto the snow? Like,
So you can do it. I've got friends that are
There's multiple different things you can
sit
try.
ski.
Sit ski with
my mate's a
the one ski
Paralympian.
or the 3 skis. So.
Yeah,
You want to get into that?
all my time and money is going into the drift car. So until that's done, I can't I can't
She'll
justify.
be in Japan in 2050.
Yeah.
Drift squid, biggest goal for 2023.
It's drifting. You know that answer. I just want to drift.
This drift squid sounds pretty funny. I'd actually wouldn't mind him on the show.
Oh, you'd love Jake. Jake is a good dude.
Like funny dude. We've got Dutchy 1324. What drives and motivates you?
The fear of living the same life every year motivates me to do things and to try new things, whether I'm scared or not. My biggest fear is going through life and being old and regretting not just giving life 100%, not just trying things. I just picture myself in that mindset as an older person, and I don't want to look back and be like, fuck, I wish I did this.
Yeah, they say that's the last thing you want to do is look back when you're older and say, I wish I'd done that Because one thing that I've seen, not that I'm that old, but I look at people when they're older thinking that, and I think to myself, fuck, I'd never want to I wish I'd tried or did or did that. Because soon as you lose your health, you literally can't do anything.
For example, with like my Instagram, being in a toxic relationship, I couldn't post revealing things. And I remember getting so self-conscious, I would never upload a bikini photo. Like if it was very like tame. And now when I was paralyzed, I was like, man, I wish I just flaunted my ass. Like my sister, I'm like, I had a good ass. When I look at photos, I'm like, oh, it was so, I got nothing. It's deflated. It's the opposite. It's nothing. It's non-existent. So I was like, and when I look at it, I've got a regret. I'm like, I can't believe I had this good bum and I didn't post it because I was afraid of other people's judgments. And when you've got something taken away from you, it's just like, okay, I don't want to have that feeling ever again. So that's why I do now. I'll upload whatever I want to upload. Not my butt though, because that's not existent.
Yeah,
you won't see it.
I've picked up that. Camos, GTR, Baker's dozen with a question mark. I have no idea what that means.
Baker's what?
Dozen? I don't know what that means. Camos, GTR, Baker's dozen? I don't get what that means.
I don't know. Wait, but what does he say about Baker's?
Baker's dozen.
Because Baker's is my partner. So Jesse Baker. So I don't know what he means, but doesn't what?
Dozen. Like it's it's the Baker's dozen, like it's the 13th. Like it's when your Baker's dozen, it's not 12, you do 13. I
don't know. Oh, the word dozen.
Yeah.
D-O-Z-E-N.
Yeah, not doesn't and not dozen.
I have no idea what that means.
Don't worry about that. What's your favourite Greek dessert? That's from Artie. That's one of our guys.
Oh my God, I am the worst Greek. I am the most bogan Greek you'll ever meet because I still don't think I've tried many. I've probably had nothing. I haven't even tried baklava or anything. I'm bad. I only tried tzatziki and olives last year.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm so bad. I like it now.
Are you even Greek?
I got the moustache. I have to be. And the nose.
Oh dear. Day Mal. Are there days you wake up and think, stuff this, I'm checking out on life?
Oh my God, never. My injury, I've had bad mental health days, don't get me wrong, but never about the injury. Like I can't. There's way too much to life. Like, oh my God, no way.
Okay. Puros V1. Puros. You live life without boundaries. But do you fear the chance of collateral damage?
What does that mean? I'm not very intellectually smart.
You push.
Yep.
Do you actually? Well, you definitely don't fear it. Do you think something could just go wrong and then put you in a worse spot than you're in?
Sometimes, but like that doesn't the feeling of whatever I'm doing just overrides it. So I don't.
Yeah, no. I mean,
it does definitely. Like I don't go back on the bike now because I know if I crash and all I have to do is sprain my wrist and my full independence is gone. I can't toilet, I can't shower. I need both hands to do a transfer. So imagine one hand out. I can't even get out of my chair. So there are things I definitely set boundaries with, and I guess that's why I'm going drifting because it's got a roll cage. It's hopefully safer. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty cool watching the drifting. I've never got into it, but the speed that they're hitting when they're full wheel spin, it's like, wow, they're cruising. They're doing 100 plus kilometers an hour.
And it's the tandem that gets me. So when the two cars are door to door and it's like they're about to crash, oh my God, they're just so cool.
So do you think you'll have... So there's a guy in a wheelchair doing drifting in Adelaide?
Yeah.
So you could be wheelchair to wheelchair, but in a real car?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, definitely. 100%.
With hand controls?
Yeah.
It's crazy to actually think that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've missed one. John Eaton, will you ever walk again on your own without braces or support? I think we had a bit of a chat about that.
Yeah, maybe not. At this stage or the rate things are right now, no, but could be in the future.
Okay. So if you were not doing now, if you were if you weren't doing what you're doing now and you had full functioning legs, would you be doing anything different?
Oh, I would be chasing waterfalls and climbing. Like, I would just be doing a lot more things during the day. Like, my daily routine would involve, like, taking my dogs for a walk. Like, I've got 2 massive Rottweilers that would definitely...
Do they take you for... Do you take them for a roll?
No, but I'm just... Because more so, I trust them, but, like, I don't trust them around other dogs. And if they pull, there's no safety that I'm going to be able to catch them or bring them back. So, but my dogs are really good. Funny enough, my Rottie will treat me completely different to my sister or my dad, like playing tug of war. The minute she sees me have the toy, she doesn't pull. She has it in her mouth and it's like my dad was trying to get her at the car. She was pulling my dad. My dad was struggling, like his legs, like he was moving. And as soon as I'm like, Nala, like I've got the thing, she won't tug. Like it's crazy. She's very smart. And now I've got a puppy too, so hopefully he's the same.
Yeah, Rottweiler's very tame.
Yeah, and dumb, but we still love them.
That's good. And hopefully that you do. I guess if there's something now, and you're how old are you? 28
now.
Yeah, so you're 28. So if there's something now that you've learnt over your 28 years on this planet that you could tell a 16 or a 17-year-old Christina, is there some worldly advice that you could give them? What would that worldly advice be?
To trust your intuition and anything that you actually can visualize, like you are capable of. Everything, I feel like everything that we visualize, we get a little glimpse of our future, like it's 100% doable. It's just what you have to do to get to that place. And, you know, I would visualize little things and just think it was so unrealistic and I'll never get that. And it's like, no, it is. You just have to want it hard enough and do the work that is involved to get to that place. So I wish I just believed in myself more. Like I didn't believe in myself.
Oh, yeah, it's hard to hear that because I think, yeah, you totally do. And that's what makes the difference. Yeah, now you do. But you definitely wasn't like that from the start. Now I got one more question. And this is oh no, I don't. I'm lying. Actually, I got 2. If there was one thing you could do now that would have an impact on the world, what would it be? Now we've had all sorts of answers to this. Don't want to put you on the spot or anything. Johnny's answer was probably the most interesting.
To impact the world, it's hard because I feel like there's a lot of things that people are gonna complain about and whinge about, but if everything was like resolved, it just wouldn't work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like there has to be winners, there has to be losers, there has to be this guy, like otherwise the world wouldn't run unless you could get world peace and everyone was in harmony and everyone but then it would be boring. Like if everyone was a version of you and I, for example, there was just copies of us and we had the same mentality, we weren't mean to people, how would you then progress in life and get a better, I don't know, personal development? I don't know, it's a hard one.
Yeah, well, it's totally a bogus fucking question too.
Yeah, it's a very hard
one.
Like,
I mean, they don't even have world peace in Avatar.
Yeah.
If they can't have world peace doing what they do, they can tap into the energy system. I mean, have you seen the 3D Avatar?
No, I haven't even seen the new one, but I really want to watch the new one.
I took my girls to see it.
Yeah.
And we're not going to last 2.5 hours in a movie, blah, blah, blah.
But they did.
The 3D in it's amazing.
I want to watch it.
It's amazing, but the lesson in that movie, so inspiring.
Powerful.
I'm one of those. I actually cry in movies.
Yeah, me too.
All the time. Like I don't know. I can just connect and go, oh, and then I'll look. Nat will look around. Or like I'm usually the one that cries. And that movie there, it's like, it's such about family connection. And I mean, that movie shows that there's always going to be someone looking to make money out of some situation.
Yeah, there's always money-driven people. But like what you just said about, I haven't watched it, but family. I wish if I could change anything, it would be like that people's approach to spending time with people or any human interaction was the way, like if they could think the way I did when I had my accident, when you're like, nothing matters in life other than being kind and loving your family and like just enjoying the moments, happy moments with them. I feel like people just go through life and you're with your family all the time, so you don't cherish it as much, and you're not gonna, they'll say like you'll make all this effort for your boss, or you'll go to, buy your partner hundreds of dollars of gifts, but a friend, you won't even consider like buying them a candle randomly. It doesn't have to be their birthday. It's like, I wish people could like treat people like as if they were on their deathbed, because I feel like everyone would change the way they do things.
I know with my parents, my grandparents, like, they're fucking old, like, blah, 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 and then they died. And I was young. I've actually haven't thought of it, but I was definitely under the age of 10.
Yep.
And then they're dead.
Yep.
And I'm like, and just recently my mum's had a fall, and so she stayed with us, and my girl's like, Nanny, she controls the TV. Like, my mum's a TV Nazi. And I pulled him up and I said, oi, girls, like, you got to understand that I told them what happened with me. I said, with my grandparents, before I knew it, they died.
Yep.
And I totally missed that connection. And I'm warning, I never had this warning. Like, my old man and my mum never said to me, hey, you better cherish this because it will go. And I try to think that with everything now.
So, how I told you about my dad?
Yeah.
Every day he'd walk us to school and say the exact same thing every morning. One day this is not going to happen. This is going to be a memory. It's going to be... He would say it every single day. We would walk in we had cars, but Dad's like, no, I need to walk to school with you guys because one day you're going to be too old and I won't be able to do it. So I need to cherish this, and this is going to be a memory. And he would say it and now it is. And now I look at him like, wow, Dad could understand that and appreciate that, because now it is a memory. They grow up and eventually you're not going to have that time to get back, so you need to cherish it. And I feel like when you have the injury, I was just like, oh my God, like, I don't care what this person does or what this or like, I just want to spend time with the people that I love, and just I want them to know that I love them. Me and my sister never said I love you to each other. We were close, but we for some reason never said I love you. Must have been that awkward, like, we're sisters, we don't need to say it. Ever since my injury, every time now we say I love you, and if we hang up and one of us doesn't say it, we like text it. Like, or Irene's like, you didn't say it. I'm like, I love you. Like, it's crazy how important things actually are, but you don't see it when it's,
when you're living it.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. That's cherish the moments. I'm a moment person. My wife always in the future planning this, and we got to be here and doing this and doing that and this, that and the other, where I live in the moment, and it gets you in trouble living in the moment, because you look at your time, oh fuck, it's 1 a.m, it's 2 a.m. But I cherish everything that happens and I make the most of it, and I see Nat's always in the future, and I say, babe, you got to be now, like, don't worry about this. And I had a mate back in the old days, and we'd be on the dance floor, Jason Huntington, and we'd be dancing on the dance floor, like, and he'd go, yeah, that share? And he was always talking about business, and he still does today.
Yeah.
He goes, that share, dude, did you end up buying any of that? This is like, we would have had 4 shares in our life, and here's Jason always talking. I go, Jace, be present, bro. Like, and it's such a moment, man, now. So
and that's why I feel like I haven't gone back to work, because I'm just in the moment with everything. I'm like, why do I want to go back to, like, living in I'm just enjoying the moment, and while I'm doing it, if it's not upsetting me, I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing now.
Well, you're cool at work, but I think, you can definitely talk. I think you could structure some public speaking gig that could make sure that it didn't feel like work, and you were that one person in the audience gets something. Yeah, definitely. I think you can definitely.
Well, I wasn't I was a house captain, SR, like, class captain, whatever, going through and I never spoke. I hate it. I would never public speak. Even now, like, I can do this because it's 1-on-1 or 1-on-4, 3.
Not to mention the millions of people listening.
Yeah, no, but that's like pretend in my head. Like, I'll forget and I'll look at my story and I'm like, 10,000 people just listened to my sex life. And it's like, but like, I don't think of it. Like, I'm just like, I just say it, and it's because they're not in front of me. I can say whatever I say, but if that was in a room, I'd be so nervous. So with public speaking, I want to do it, but it's still something that
Such an easy thing for you to get over. I think I don't think you're going to go back to lollipopping.
No.
So don't worry about that. If you ever want some help with public speaking, there's plenty of amazing people in this state that can help you, and I think you've got a great career there. So don't stress about it. And you might be able to earn some money on the side to get this car fucking quicker.
Yeah, I know. I need it. I need the money. It's not even it's like I'm spending all this money on the car, but it's not even running yet. The expenses that are going to come when I want to run it.
Just wait. So it's come to the end. We have one more question.
Yep.
This is the toughest question. If people have got to this far, they've listened for a couple of hours, so thank you. You must be fascinating. If you died and came back as a board game.
Board game.
I'd even say like a game like on like a, what do you call it? Like
Xbox or PC
yeah, whatever. But if
whatever.
you came back as a game, what game would best describe your life?
I see,
You've never probably been asked that, which is good.
Yeah, but I'm not also a gamer.
Yeah.
Like, I tried COD, oh my God, anxiety. Would not, that's actually probably best describes my life, anxiety. COD.
What's COD? I've
COD,
never heard of it.
Black Ops, Call of Duty.
Oh, Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Okay. What? Because you're always like...
You're just on edge the whole, and there's so much going on. That actually probably best describes my life because there is always something around the corner. Things are trying to come kill you, and you're just trying to survive and enjoy it. Even if life is crazy, you're still enjoying the ride. Probably best describes it.
I love that. That's awesome. Like we've had so many different answers, and I've now realised that I need to ask more than a board game because I think there's a lot of people that come here that board game. Fuck, I've never played a board game.
When I thought of all I could think of was Monopoly.
Yeah, people say Monopoly, Snakes and Ladders, all that sort of stuff, up, down. But hey, Christina, thank you very much for being so open, honest, and transparent. They're pillars that I live my life on, and we try to say, hey, if you do this, then nothing can go wrong.
Yep.
Because they are your values. You draw the line in the sand. You stick to it. I really appreciate the conversation. I have no doubt this will help other people that might be in a situation at your way. And in the past, I would have talked about a less fortunate person, but after hearing about what you've talked about and how you've handled it truly shows the mental capacity you have to turn any situation into the situation that best suits the life that you live. Yep. And it's as good as I thought it would be in regards to hearing your story and just hearing how motivational, powerful you are to be able to live this story and roll through life and say this. And I believe you'll be walking one day, and you might not want that. Like, fuck that, I want to go back to sitting down. That'll be totally up to you. But once again, it'll be a decision that you get to make. And the decisions you've made so far have been amazing in such a short period of time. Truly inspirational, and you'll be a huge role model for many other people. So make sure you think about that when you think about your next career move.
Thank you. I don't know how to respond to that. That was so nice. It just kept going. More comment. My head was just going bigger. But thank you. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on, and I love talking to like-minded people and stuff like that. So I feel like this podcast, it would be great, and I hope there are people that take at least something out of it because, I feel like you've got a great attitude. I believe I have a great attitude. And I just really appreciate the time that you took to have me on here.
Thank you.